Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Friday. It's April 4th. Today is day 546. An update of the news from the last 24 hours. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the Middle East. I'll be giving updates between now and the end of Lent through Easter from Egypt, Jordan, Palestine, and Israel. So what's happened in Gaza and the Middle East? In Gaza, there was an Israeli strike on a school that turned into a shelter where reports indicate that at least 27 people were killed, including 19 women and children. 70 people were wounded in the north of Gaza and Gaza City. The Israeli military said that it struck prominent terrorists who were in a Hamas command and control center. Other Israeli attacks killed at least 97 people in the previous 24 hours, according to the health ministry in Gaza. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians yesterday fled south of Gaza's Rafah city in the south as Israeli forces advanced into the city in one of the largest mass displacements in the war. We've been talking about this. I mentioned in the last few days that more than 140,000 people were displaced. And when we talk about the largest mass displacements of the war, we were talking about the Netzarim corridor that was dividing North Gaza from South Gaza. Part of the strategy of the Israeli military now has been dividing a second dividing area between the southern cities of Gaza so that there would be three areas where the north would be divided and the south would be divided as well. There also has been a division that was created in the Israeli government that is allowing for encouraging the removal of Palestinians who, quote unquote, willingly want to relocate out of the Gaza Strip. And there are significant concerns that this is an indication of Israel's intention to annex Gaza or to at least permanently occupy the Gaza Strip. It was said that the Israeli military announced Rafah would form a part of a security zone controlled by Israel. So that's that third area that I was talking about. Separately, Israeli troops today moved into an area of North Gaza to expand another quote unquote security zone. So part of what's been happening is areas are declared security zones, but then they're bombed and they're not respected, just the way that hospitals are supposed to be, according to international law, protected and not bombed. But whenever there is a suspected terrorist, quote unquote, whenever there is a suspected member of Hamas or a militant group, it's then used as justification for a bombing. The new Israeli military chief of staff, Eyal Zamir, wants to decisively take out Hamas with a large-scale, months plural, long ground offensive before a political solution for Gaza is decided. People familiar with the thinking have said Israel previously sought to remove Hamas from the territory by political means, according to analysts. The death toll is well over 50,000 people, not including all of those who are underneath the rubble. So I don't know what political means they're speaking of, but that's according to the Wall Street Journal. In the West Bank, there have been increased Israeli forces incursions in Bethlehem. Israeli forces shot and killed a 17-year-old boy the south of Bethlehem. Following a suspected IED throwing. His body is being withheld. In Jenin, in the north of the occupied West Bank, a 42-year-old man was killed during Israeli forces' search operation on Nazareth Street in Jenin City. There have been numerous Israeli incursions. There's been significant resistance, north of the occupied West Bank and the Jenin refugee camps. Have been where there's been significant beds of resistance, and there have been now months-long incursions by the Israeli military and also extremist settler activity. The man's body in Jenin was later delivered to the Red Crescent. Moving on to the broader Middle East, the Syrian foreign minister yesterday condemned Israel's fresh wave of airstrikes on air bases and other military sites as an, quote, unjustified escalation aiming to destabilize Syria, end quote. The latest strike came amid reports of Turkey moving its military equipment to Syrian air bases. Israel also today said that it killed a Hamas commander in the south of Lebanon. You'll recall that Israel still maintains at least 5 locations in the south of Lebanon. There is a supposedly backed U.S. ceasefire in effect. Hezbollah has said that if the Lebanese military does not intervene with Israel's incursions, that Hezbollah will have to re-engage. In terms of Yemen and the Houthis, the U.S. has achieved only, quote, limited success in destroying Houthi targets. That is from Pentagon officials as they were briefing Congress this week in closed briefings. Officials briefed on the assessment say that the strikes were more extensive and more costly than publicly described. The Pentagon used $200 million worth of munitions in the 3 weeks of U.S. bombing, and the total cost was nearly $1 billion US. A senior Pentagon official pushed back on reports saying that the operation is on track. Now, I've been reporting on analysts who've said that this is foolhardy. So the U.S. has been actively bombing Houthis, who are now back on the U.S. terrorist list. Threats of military strikes against Iran are, quote, illegal and unacceptable, the foreign ministry spokesperson for Russia said just days after Trump threatened Tehran with bombings and secondary tariffs if Tehran and the Iranians don't strike a nuclear program deal with Washington. So it seems that things may be, ratcheting up with Iran. We've been talking about whether or not Israel would attack Iran or Iran would counterattack, and whether or not the U.S. would either support that or be directly involved. I wanted to talk just a minute about U.S. arms sales. Bernie Sanders brought forward his proposal to halt the $8.8 billion in arms sales to Israel with 2 resolutions at the Senate yesterday. They were overwhelmingly voted down, 82-15 and 83-15. He cited the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which is just so severe. Bakeries are running out of flour. Hospitals, have already just had such a severe crisis in medical supplies. Food is an issue, humanitarian assistance. The siege on Gaza is going on more than a month. So the Democrats that voted in favor of Sanders, opposing the military aid were only 15 compared to 19 in November. So the Democratic senators who voted no this time and supported senators' opposition to arms sales last time were Senator Ossoff, Warnock, King, and Shaheen. They all voted no this time. I also wanted to let you know the Trump administration moved forward with the sale of 20,000 U.S.-made assault rifles to Israel in the last month. This hit the news today. There was a document seen by Reuters, and sources familiar with the matter said that the pushing of this sale, was particularly interesting because Joe Biden put a hold on this because of the fear that these rifles could get into the hands of extremist settlers. The State Department sent a notification to Congress on March 6th. The sale is worth about $24 million. The end users for these rifles are supposed to be the Israeli National Police, but because of Ben Gvir and Smotrich and the far right of the Israeli government, and the relationship of the Israeli National Police and the far right settlers, the fear was that these rifles would get into the hands of settlers. And so Biden put a hold on it. Biden also imposed sanctions on some of these far right settler entities and individuals in the occupied West Bank. But then Trump, on his first day in office on January 20th, issued an executive order rescinding U.S. sanctions on Israeli settlers in a reversal of U.S. policy. And since then, the Trump administration's approved the sale, of course, of billions of dollars worth of weapons to Israel. While all that's happening, as I mentioned, the tensions with Iran have escalated and the U.S. is sending warplanes to the Middle East. So Reuters just put out a piece saying that Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, has reinforced U.S. military capabilities by sending warplanes. The Pentagon announced this on Tuesday. More than a 2-week-old U.S. bombing campaign in Yemen with mounting tensions in Iran. The Pentagon statement did not specify what aircraft specifically and where they're going, but that's happening. I also wanted to give you an update on some church news. The United Methodist Church Board is joining a boycott to Chevron because of their commitment to human rights, peace, and international law. They're standing in solidarity with the United Methodist Kairos Response and other United Methodists in the boycott campaign because they believe that Chevron should terminate all contracts with Israel that allow it to profit from the military occupation of Palestine and cease operations in the gas fields off the coast of Palestine and Israel. They identified Chevron Corporation as an American multinational energy company specializing in oil and gas that operates national gas extraction and pipelines off the coast of Palestine, Israel, making it a significant partner in the blockade of Gaza and the exploitation of Palestinian land and resources. And I wanted to encourage you also to please be in prayer about all the things I just shared. That's why we give these daily updates. Use these as a spiritual discipline. I know many of you listen to these daily and just pray through them as I'm giving these updates. But pray also for these Palestinian Christians who are all Palestinian Christians, that the church and the sustainability of the church in the broader Middle East. But Leon Nasser has another court case coming up April 23rd. She spent 10 months under administrative detention in Israeli prison. Her case on April 23rd, we're praying that her case will be dismissed. Her next court case is April 23rd. Pray for Shadi Hori. Shadi was accused of having lynched a car, having hit it with his hands. He was not present that day. He is a graduate of the Ramallah Friends School. Shadi's another Palestinian Christian. Both are from the occupied West Bank. Shadi from East Jerusalem. So please pray for him. I also wanted to call your attention to the Prayers for Peace blog that we just posted, a Jerusalem voice for justice, an ecumenical witness for equality and a just peace in Palestine, Israel, written by a very high coalition of Palestinian Christians from Jerusalem calling for an end to the atrocities in Gaza, including the emeritus, Bishop Yunan and the emeritus patriarch Sabah. And so please read that and join us in prayer. We pray together every Wednesday. I do a live briefing on Thursdays summarizing the weekly news. But may God go before us as we call for an end to all atrocities, for all who suffer in Gaza, Palestine, and Israel. May the Lord go before us in the name of peace. Amen.